Hey, hope all is well. So, the system is rigged, and that's just the basis of everything. The system is rigged, the system is failing, the system is falling. And to see it falling, oh my goodness, it's amazing because this system, whether it's educational, medical, whatever, it's failing the people anyway. The governmental system in general is failing the people. The closer I get to God, the more I read His Word, the more I understand who He is, what He designed for us, what His laws and His ordinance are, the more I want to just simply get away from the system. Because this system that we live in has nothing to do with God and His Word. It has nothing to do with the biblical principles that God has put into place. It has nothing to do with anything godly or holy or righteous or orderly or any of the things. This system was put into place by a bunch of people who wanted to get rich and regulate your life because they wanted to basically control your every move so that they can continually make money off of you. And even after they died, they wanted to continue to make money off of you and make money off of your children and your children's children. And so their legacy can continue to live on. So they feed you these lives of live your dreams and go to school and all of these things and visit our doctor's clinics and all of this stuff just so that you can go and do it. You can be on that hamster wheel, going through life, giving the people what they want. Now, on the previous video, I discussed or began to discuss the education system for what it was. I tried to go as far into depth as possible in order to get you to an understanding of the background of the educational system because it's needed. We know that the educational system has been failing our children for the longest and has somewhat failed us too. Because I hear people constantly talk about we need our history in the books. We don't have our history in the books. They lie to us about the history of our people. And then you come to months like February, which was last month, and you have this Black History Month in which you have the school programs and all of the things that are going on. And it's like, first of all, our history is in the Bible. But nobody wants to read the Bible for what it is. First of all, the laws and ordinances that we are to follow and how we are to conduct and behave in this life is in the Bible. So it doesn't matter how much they put in the textbooks because it's all lies. They drum up whatever they want to add to their curriculum, to give to you, because they feed it to you easily. They manipulate the minds of the people. They give you those standardized tests because they need their money for their funding. They need to keep their schools open. It's all a cycle. Now, ending the educational system, I did want to make a note. There was a man by the name of Horace Mann that was in 1837. He had a vision for the system. He would teach professional teachers and teach students how to organize their own curriculum of basic content. This is where the curriculum really started. The General Education Board at that time was basically incorporated into Congress, and they started to promote education with this set of standards of a curriculum, and that's basically where everything has stemmed from. Now, I found it ironic that the major groups that have been involved in developing the curriculum include a nonprofit by the name of Achieve, which was founded by a group of business leaders and governors in 1996. And these business leaders and corporations include Alcoa, ExxonMobil, Microsoft, as well as many other large foundations, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who's also a funder of the NPR news coverage. I don't know if you ever seen the NPR where they go over like news and stuff like that. NPR is a news site where they talk about the news. And so the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they have their own little section where they talk about education. So I find that interesting. Also, the William and Flora Foundation, Hewlett Packard Foundation, actually. As I read through, as I research, as I gain knowledge and wisdom, and God opens up my eyes just a little bit more to see things for what it really is, man, I tell you, I am taken aback, because only He can give you true wisdom and knowledge and help you to understand things for what they are, and help you to see that this was never meant to be anyway. So, on the outside looking in, it's easy to point out the flaws in the system, because the system is very much so flawed. Now, since then, they've started a state-led curriculum, core curriculum, where they have their own, every state has their own curriculum that they go by. And so huge corporations and foundations have insight and oversight over public education curriculum, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, money has to come from the government. Government is in bed with foundations and organizations and corporations, so it's still all mixed in. Common Core, which is the curriculum, requires to include test scores in teacher evaluations, basically saying that if you're a teacher and you get evaluated at the end of the year, they're going to evaluate you based on how well your students tested, to see if, number one, if they want you back at that school or in that district, and number two, to see how much they really want to pay you, if it's worth it. The Gates Foundation and Department of Education are still driving this Common Core principle forward, and they still pour millions into advocacy and promotion. Now, federal law has mandated that states have their own core curriculum in order for them to receive federal funding. And states like Texas have core curriculum called TEKS, TEKS, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. These TEKS are put into place to tell you which lesson will be on the standardized benchmark, stars, all of the standardized tests. And these tests show you how well your children are regurgitating the information. And if they don't pass the tests, they want to know what you're doing wrong in your classroom and how we can improve that. What strategies can we use to be able to get these kids to understand fully what we want them to understand? And let's just say your children just fail all the tests. At the end of the school year, basically your job is on the line, because they can sit and evaluate you and say, you know what, we don't think you're a good fit because your children failed all the tests because they didn't understand the material. Maybe you weren't a good teacher or a good fit for us, because we need these scores in order to receive our funding. If you have multiple children in your school that are failing these tests continuously, your school will be placed on a monitored list where your district is monitoring that school to see what's going on. Now, in response to being monitored, that school is watched like a hawk. Those teachers are basically 24/7 on call, because emails are still coming in after 7 and 8 o'clock at night. They want you to attend several trainings to help you be a better teacher so that you can teach them these TEKS. They are constantly micromanaging and telling you what to do, as if you're not an adult, or as if you don't know how to teach. How well you're doing determines the funding and the support that you receive for your school. And that's all it boils down to. Now, I talk about this because it's directly linked to the medical field. It's directly linked actually to every field, but the medical field more so, because the same people who help to fund the General Education Board are the same people who play a major role in the healthcare industry. Because we all know that Western medicine is a business. I mean, it's blatantly in front of your face how badly they want to make money. Look at the commercials and all of the prescription pills and all of the opioids that you see out right now on the streets. It's evident that their message is clear. They want people addicted to opioids so that you can continue to come to their doctor's offices and continue to get prescriptions so they can continue to get their bonuses. Now, like I said, the educational system is directly linked to the medical system. So the same people who created them, John Dee, also looked into petrochemicals. Petrochemicals are the chemical products that are obtained from petroleum by refining. And we're talking about chemicals such as plastics, soaps, detergents, solvents, drugs, fertilizers, pesticides, explosives, rubbers, paints, flooring, insulating materials, you name it. Anything that can be made from petrochemicals, he made it. He was the one that was in big oil and created the Exxon Mobils, the Chevrons of them all, the Shells. So he created the entire start of the system. He was very much so involved in Congress, creating different branches of educational boards and organizations and foundations, corporations. He was linked to a lot of people. Because he was so into the oil industry, of course he was the one to truly introduce petrochemicals. In the early 1900s, scientists were working to understand life and human life like they are now. And vitamins were discovered at that time, but they had been discovered. They discovered them at that time. They were researching at this time how to recreate synthetic versions of these vitamins so that you don't take the actual holistic vitamin. We want to give you what we've made in the lab to be a vitamin so you can come back and keep buying from us. Since natural and herbal medicines were so popular, this was a problem. Almost half of medical colleges and doctors in America practice holistic medicine at this time. This is interesting because just the same way how before the General Education Board was founded, everyone was practicing homeschooling and it was basic, everybody's literacy rates were high. Now we're saying that before all of these petrochemicals and prescriptions were introduced, holistic medicine was practiced in at least half of all medical colleges and doctors' offices in America. That was the foundation. So when God says get back to basics, he means back to basics, away from it all. Now he took the money that he made from oil and purchased a pharmaceutical company, IG Farben, a drug manufacturing company. Now, IG Farben was a factory that was in Poland, and it was used for concentration camps. Just a side note. Okay, thought that was important. And in the early American history, herbal and natural medicines such as essential oils, aromatherapy, and others were popular. After he purchased this in 1910, the Rockefeller Foundation, along with Carnegie, again, his best friend, helped to fund the Flexner Report. Now get this. This man named Abraham Flexner teamed up with them. Flexner was commissioned by the Council on Medical Education. They created the American Medical Association, AMA. So the intentions of them linking together was to start the Flexner Report. The intentions of this report was to help evaluate and restructure the medical education in the United States. So it was to evaluate, he was going to go around, travel around the world, evaluate the medical colleges, the medical clinics, and figure out how they could change it into something where they could make money off of it. And that's what he did. At the end of that year, the Flexner Report concluded that all of these natural healing methods were unscientific. This report also concluded that there were way too many medical schools and too many doctors in America. And so this called for a standardization of medical education. They wanted to standardize medical education. There was too much going on, too much holistic stuff going on where they couldn't make money off of it, basically. So they took the organization that they created the American Medical Association, and made it to where AMA would be the only entity that could approve medical school licenses in America. These people had some agendas up their sleeve. Now, after this came out, the Flexner Report, Congress implemented changes based on Flexner's recommendations because, remind you, Carnegie and John D. were very well involved in the government, so they could easily persuade, just like they can now, the government in decisions. So Congress implemented these changes, which led to this new allopathic medicine that we know of today, becoming the standard methods of the time. Now, after that, John D. worked with Carnegie again to fund medical schools across the country. They gave over $100 million through the Education Board. This streamlined all colleges. So this basically put all colleges on the same wavelength. Every single college was supposed to teach the same thing to every single person that would go to a medical school. They could only teach allopathic medicine. They offered grants of significant proportions in order for the schools to adhere to their conditions. If the schools did not adhere, then they wouldn't receive funding and the schools would have to close. Now, when I say allopathic medicine, I mean medicine that is science-based modern medicine. It refers to a system in which medical doctors and other health professionals like nurses and pharmacists, therapists, treat symptoms and diseases. And that's all they do is treat it. They don't get to the root cause of it. They don't knock it out. They treat it for a time and then it comes right back because that's what they want. They want a revolving door. Because of the grants, the plant-based natural treatments, along with the teachings on nutrition and diet from medical education curriculum, had been removed. These natural medications were quickly discredited. They started to discredit it and demonize it through targeting like media campaigns and telling you that no, this is unscientific, so it's not going to work. Scientists then received huge grants to study how plants cured diseases. But see, their goal first was to identify, like I told you in the previous video, which plants were effective, and then the scientists would then create or recreate their own chemical, similar chemical, not identical, that the lab could patent. Because they couldn't patent an actual plant. It doesn't belong to them. But they could patent something that they made in a similar fashion. And that's what they did. So now, we are churning out healthcare professionals that know nothing about the benefits of nutrition or herbs or holistic practices. So basically, we have a society that's enslaved to its corporations for its well-being. Because that's exactly what it is. You're a slave to the doctor's offices when you can't stop going. Or as soon as something happens, you have to go and run and get a prescription. You're a slave to that type of society, to where you continually go through those revolving doors, using up your insurance and paying them money that is going straight to the top. America is only focused on symptoms, not curing you. They create repeating customers. Most of the time you go to the doctor, they're going to tell you that something is wrong. Something isn't right. We need to get you treated for this. You need to go to a specialist for that. It's always something. Always. And even if it's nothing, they will make it into something. I remember a couple of years ago, before I started to look into holistic medication, I went to the doctor probably for my last visit, and she told me I was pre-diabetic. And so I'm like, okay. But see, this lady wanted to put me on some sort of hormonal treatment and give me like birth control to control my hormones and control my weight. And I told her no, and she just kept pushing. And I said, no, I don't want to get on that stuff. I've already had that in my body and in my system, and I did not like the way my body responded to it. And so she was like, well, basically, okay, well, do your own thing. And I told her, I said, no, I'm going to go home and I'm going to research natural holistic treatments, and I'm going to heal my body. And that's what I did. God gave me a lot of wisdom at that time to research a lot about natural remedies and hormonal imbalances and even just weight loss. He gave me a focus to lose weight once I started to truly follow him, and he gave me that discipline that I needed to know that, okay, the things that you're putting into your body is not healthy for you. I didn't need to be on hormonal pills. I didn't need to be on birth control. I needed to get insight and wisdom about my life and my body. And that's what happened. And after that started, after God changed my mindset, I didn't look back. I didn't take what she said and say, oh, I'm diabetic and I need to be. No. That wasn't an option for me. I wasn't going to take something that somebody told me and run to the doctor and ask them for help. Oh, no. Because Jesus is my help, and he has been. So that is what they want. They want you to have to come to them. They want you to go and get the depot shots and the hormonal treatments and all of the prescription pills, because that's society. That's the society that we live in. Now, for the most part, I have looked into, done some research on, John Dee, how the systems were created, how very much so linked they all are, and just have come to that understanding that these people were crooked, wicked, and that's the reason why the systems are coming down now, because they have to. Side note, John Dee also helped to create the American Cancer Foundation. And did you know that in America, it's illegal, per the government, it's illegal to pursue or utilize any other mode of cancer treatment other than chemotherapy, radiation, or surgery? Did you know that they made that a law? That you can't do anything outside the doctor's offices other than that to treat your cancer, if that's what you say you have? So, recap. Rockefeller owned 90% of oil refineries in the United States. He has founded medical societies and helped to completely remove natural remedies from medical education in the country. This opened many doors for petrochemicals, the antibiotics, the antibacterial soaps, the suppositories, the cough drops, the lubricants, the ointments, these creams, the gels, all of the crap they sell at the store was made from petrochemicals. It's amazing to see what detrimental harm has been caused by these wicked people who only wanted to make money off of the people, off of the masses, and build their legacy before they passed away, so it could be passed down from generation to generation. People like that, they will get their just due. I know one thing. Back to basics is what God is saying, for a reason. Because anything other than that, it's not him. The flawed education system, where the children don't learn anything, the behaviors are off of the charts, it's flawed. You have kids who should be homeschooled that are being raised with good morals and values and principles at home, but then they, parents send their children to school and it's all thrown out of the window because children are easily influenced by those around them. And so they end up becoming something that they're not being raised to be. There are no biblical courses in school. There's nothing to ground these kids. Only a curriculum thrown at them by teachers who are literally coming out of an education system that's rigged, and the standardized tests that have nothing to do with real life, reality, the trainings, the professional developments that don't even help you to develop professionally. The school systems is exactly that, a system. The medical system is exactly that. It's a system. So, come out of the systems. Homeschool your children for the umpteenth time. Get out of those doctor's offices for the umpteenth time. Because it's all a scam. It is all a scam. The propaganda was real and still is. And they are trying to sell you a dream. And that just can't happen. So, I hope that this message was not only inspiring, but educational. Because Lord knows, people need it. I hope that you get some type of knowledge out of this to see that, to see things for what they really are. Scams and systems. And if you're not following the way of God, if you're not following his laws and his ordinances and the Bible and what he says to do, then you're on the wrong side of the road, you know. So seek him while he may be found. Have a good night.